Hey everybody, this is Brian with Drag Links Racing and the Back to the Track project. Just going to do kind of an intro video to our presentation we did last night at the WACOG meeting. So that's the Weber Area Council of Governments. Basically, it's a meeting between the county commissioners and all of Weber County's mayors. So they all get together, talk about issues, and we were able to get ourselves put on the agenda to talk about the nonprofit and what we're doing with it, and basically get that ask in there. We're currently looking for properties, and that's our big ask from them. So anyways, I'll run the full presentation here. It's about 7-8 minutes long, and let you guys listen to it. Just know I'm far from a polished public speaker, but you know what? I thought I did all right. So for my first time and being in front of some pretty major elected officials like that, I felt like it did all right. So anyways, we'll cut to that video, let you guys check it out, and then we'll come wrap it up.
Right, I just want to start by saying thank you for the opportunity to present before you all today. My name is Russell Taylor. I'm a resident of North Ogden City in Weber County. I'm here representing our local nonprofit. It's called the Back to the Track project. So I have something to introduce you to that you'll see is not only necessary, but something we can pioneer together to solve a problem nationwide. We've all witnessed the recent rise in street racing. This is not necessarily something new, but it's undeniably getting worse. There are many factors contributing to this. From my experience, there are a couple more than others. So social media spotlights exciting things like amateur drag racing, and it engages people to participate. Also, there's been a focus on more performance-based vehicles from vehicle manufacturers. These vehicles are real exciting and they drive a massive aftermarket parts industry. These products are shared across social media and they're purchased by the public. These products can cost tens of thousands of dollars, and they represent an even bigger time investment to tune and to install. What this has done is created an exciting hobby and a community of enthusiasts that is represented in every city across the country. Now this has created a problem. We have a massive industry selling exciting products to the public, and then we have governments and law enforcement frantically trying to keep the use of those products off the public streets. In other words, there's a critical gap that needs to be filled. This gap is an appropriate and safe facility for these amateurs to utilize. Depending on your location, options are extremely limited to non-existent. This drives the racing to the streets where they're met by law enforcement and pretty severe consequences. Injury or death, property damage, and criminal charges await. These new laws give law enforcement officers tools to discourage this unsafe behavior, but with the lack of an appropriate facility, it means the risky behavior is going to inevitably continue. These laws are only half of the equation. Without an appropriate facility for these laws to drive the racing to, all we're really doing is creating criminal records for citizens that would rather not be breaking the law in the first place. And as well as it's an unneeded tension between law enforcement and a pretty big group of the public. So let's talk a little bit about facilities. Currently, if you're lucky enough to live within a reasonable distance of a track, there's still problems. These tracks are focused on professional races and rarely open up to use by amateurs. When they do open up, space is pretty limited and it's generally expensive. Our previous track, Rocky Mountain Raceway, actually did a really good job of providing an outlet for the amateur racers. A couple times a month they would open up for the midnight drags and it was always packed. If you weren't there really early, you just wouldn't even get a chance to race. So, unfortunately, due to economic reasons, the track was closed. And so we spent the last season down there enjoying it while we had it. Obviously this led to discussions of the inevitable problems that were coming. And then also we were discussing ways to think of how to make a low overhead facility, something that would address the financial pitfalls of a traditional track. So after many discussions, we decided the most appropriate way to approach the situation was to create publicly owned tracks with a nonprofit actually constructing, operating, and maintaining these facilities. This would focus the tracks on public interest rather than being forced to try to turn a profit by their use. To reduce the overhead, we designed tracks without the frills and complex systems. So there's no buildings, no stands, just asphalt, barricades, gates, fencing, safety equipment, and a pit. They're easy to build, clean, monitor, and maintain. We've spent the last 3 years developing a mobile software that puts the operation of the track into the hands of the racers. It's really cool. Waivers, registration, track access, timing lights, time slips, events, and challenges are all contained inside of the racer's mobile device. This eliminates the need for dozens of employees to manage these functions. Now we can staff this automated track with only the essential personnel. So EMT professionals, security or police presence, and a couple of volunteers on hand to clean up any spills or incidents that arise during the racing. So keeping these costs low allows us to almost exclusively fund these tracks through the industry providing the vehicles and the aftermarket products, which is the best part. Let me just talk a little bit about how we plan to do that. So the industry has a vested interest in providing these types of facilities. We have made it easy and very lucrative for them to do that. First, we have established ourselves as a 501c3 charity. This allows these large companies and local businesses to contribute or sponsor to these tracks and enjoy 100% tax deduction on those donations or sponsorships. Second is we built valuable advertising space into the software. This puts their products and services front and center of their exact target demographic. These advertising opportunities will be provided according to the tier they choose to contribute at. And third is the increase in customers these tracks will provide. As mentioned earlier, some of these vehicle modifications can run tens of thousands of dollars. And there's an untapped market of consumers that decide not to buy these products due to the exact reasons I'm discussing. All that time and money with nowhere to utilize it. These incentives, so these three incentives plus the PR of contributing to a solution make their participation a really easy choice. So we've done all this with the intention of reducing the burden on our local governments and providing these facilities to the public at a minimal cost. To make these facilities a reality, we need the help of the community, the industry, and the governments that represent them. The next part is where we need your help in particular. I mentioned earlier our intentions of keeping ownership of the track in the hands of the public, with the Back to the Track project simply constructing, operating, and maintaining it. Our next step in this process is identifying potential properties that fit our needs. This is where we need your help in particular. As far as the land is concerned, we want the worst we can find. So covered landfills, oddly shaped narrow spaces by freeways or other noisy areas, land prone to flooding with unsuitable soil for structures. Those are the type of properties we're looking that we would like. We can build these tracks. So there will be no need for buildings, no need for utilities. We can build these tracks to be completely self-contained if needed, hopefully opening up more potential sites. Our reasoning in trying to find the least desirable properties is to ensure these tracks remain open for the long term. My intention is to work with all of you and your planners to find that suitable property that I know is out there. We've assembled this program to also give back to the cities and the counties willing to invest in the solution. So the tracks are designed to provide revenue directly back to the municipalities through track access fees along with designated vendor and food truck spaces that are easily managed through the software. Municipalities can bring in easy revenue to cover any required police presence, as well as fund enforcement of the new laws on those individuals now intentionally and unnecessarily racing on the public streets. So this program has been well thought out and it's been in the works since 2018. We invested this time to bring you all a solution rather than a problem. Now we are coming to you at this critical time asking for your help in taking this thing across the finish line, pun intended. We've provided each of you a booklet with all of our information on our organization and more details on the program that I briefly covered today. I've also included my personal contact information and hope to speak with each one of you individually to answer any questions that you may have. Thank you again for your time and consideration. Let's solve this problem, ease the tension, and get the racing back to the track. Thank you.
That's awesome. Russ, how?
So yeah, that was it. It went good. They asked a couple of questions. I was able to get them some pretty good answers to. One was about the funding, if we intended them to have to fund this thing, which I was happy to be able to tell them no, that we've got that figured out. The other thing was, they asked about liability and a few things like that, which was fun to be able to explain to them the work that we've done with the insurance companies to mitigate that. And then the really cool thing was shortly after that, we had a lot of them, one real important one in particular, that reached right out. I mean, I hadn't got sat down more than 3 minutes and they were already texting me and offering their help. So that's really good. They were all very excited, very complimentary, and they were a great group. I mean, these guys, it was a pretty long, drawn out meeting. They were talking about the housing crisis that we're heading into, trying to get affordable housing figured out and how to distribute that between the cities. A lot of interesting stuff to listen to, and it was really fun to be a part of it, and even funner to see the aftermath. So, I went into it not 100% understanding what was going to be there. We just threw on a suit and dove in head first. So, but it turned out really, really good. And I'm happy to say that, you know, it was a level up for us, you know, moved us into the next phase, and hopefully it's something we can work pretty rapidly through. All right, well, that's it, guys. Thanks for watching. I'll catch you on the next one.